Hi there and welcome to this Literacy Shared Adobe Express challenge. Well, maybe I should say bienvenue, because in this tutorial we're going to be making a newspaper report inspired by the film Contre. Now, if you need free Adobe Express for Education accounts for your school, just follow the link that's at the bottom of the screen right now. And there you can also find all the other free stuff that we do for schools, like live lessons, teacher training, and lesson packs. Okay, let's go. Allons-y. Away we go. Here we are on the Adobe Express homepage, and to create our newspaper report, we are going to click on the pink tile that says Create a Poster. It's going to open up the Adobe Express all-in-one editor. Now then, let's start off with the background. It needs to look like a really old, worn-out newspaper. So let's go to Elements, and then let's move over to Backgrounds and search for paper and choose a paper texture that you like as a background. Let's move straight on to the actual name of the newspaper, so you can get creative with that. I'm going to click on text and then add your text. Now maybe you've already thought of a name for your newspaper. I'm going to go for something like the Daily Tide, which is quite obvious, thinking of the theme of this film. Right, now then, I wanted to look like a really old-fashioned printed newspaper, and I've found a nice set of fonts called the IMFL font. So if you search IMFL in the fonts, you get all of these, and they all look really cool and kind of old-fashioned, don't they? So I'm going to choose one of these that I like as a name for my newspaper. I think the newspaper should have maybe a little icon or some kind of shape that goes with it. So let's go into Elements again, scroll over to Icons, and I'm just going to search for Tide or Wave. Let's try Wave. Wave in there. I'm going to bring something in, something quite minimalist that's going to work as a kind of icon at the end of the name of my newspaper. Yeah, there we go. I like that. That's great. Right, let's underline this. So let's go back into Elements, Shapes. Let's grab a line from here. And I'm just going to bring that in. And I'm going to change the color to black. There we go. And just make it go all the way across the page. Just like that. Hi there, hope you're having fun. Just a quick interruption to say, teachers, if you'd like a PDF mapping these skills to the NCCE Teach Computing curriculum, just follow the link that's at the bottom of the screen now and we'll send that over to you. Okay, let's get back onto it. Okay, let's think about our image then. So for this, I'm going to use AI text image. I'm going to click on Media, and I'm going to come over to Photos, Text to Image, and I think I'd like a square image for this. So in here, I'm going to type in my prompt. There we go. I've chosen to type in black and white because this is going to be a kind of a lo-fi newspaper. I don't want any color on it. And then I'm going to move down and look at the techniques. So for this, I'm going to go for maybe a lino cut, and it's going to give me that kind of newspaper image kind of theme. Let's see what Express comes up with for this prompt. There we go. Well, they are wonderful. They're exactly the kind of mood that I wanted. I think this is my favorite, so I'm going to click on that. Great. Now then, let's get this to blend in even better with that paper background. Now to do that, that's all I need to do is, with the image selected, is use the multiply blend mode. And that is going to get rid of anything light in here and make it transparent. And there you go. It looks now as if that's printed directly onto that paper. If you'd still like to see more of the paper texture through the ink, you could bring the opacity down a little bit, and then you're going to start seeing a bit of the paper itself behind the print. Right, let's get our actual catchy headline then. So let's duplicate this text box that we used for the newspaper name. 3 dots, duplicate. Now then, my title is over here. I've got my article written up here. Now you may have yours typed up on a doc or maybe written out in your exercise book. So maybe you'll need to type this in, but I'm just going to be able to copy things across. Right, here's my headline, Raging Waters. And let's just pop that in here. Great, there we go. Now for this, I'm going to use the dynamic text layout. So click on text layout and choose dynamic. There we go. And it's going to make both lines of my text the same width. So it's going to fit nicely in there. Now I'd like my headline to be even more attention grabbing. So let's bring up the outline thickness on this. and change that outline color to black. And what it does really is just make a much thicker version of your font. If you've got black font with a black outline, then it really stands off. Great, there we go. So what's coming next? Well, I've got this kind of intro here. So let's bring that in. And let's pop that into a text box. I'm just going to duplicate this again. Let's bring this down because I'm definitely not going to need it that big. And let's paste that in there. Now then, let's change the font on here. So let's go back into my font selections. I'll type IM Fell in there again. And yeah, let's use a nice kind of italic font for this one. Yeah, that looks great. Right, and let's pop that. And I want it to fit into this gap here. So you'll need to do a bit of fiddling around with the width of your text box using the long handle and the actual size of the font using the corner handle. You want to try and fill this gap up as much as possible. You see, I'm just keep on tweaking the width and the size, and there we go. It's perfect. There it is. Right, this is going well. Let's duplicate our line. So choose this line, duplicate, and let's just bring that down. And let's pop that there. All right, now then, we need to get my actual article in now. So let's duplicate this text box. This font size is going to be quite similar to what I'm going to need. Right, let's grab now then the rest of my article. So I'm just going to choose that in here and copy it. Back I go, paste it in. There we go. And now I need to adjust definitely my size, but also let's change the width of this text box. And you just want to try and get it to fit nicely on your page. Right, something like this. Now, I do also want to change the font. So let's do that before I forget. I'd rather this to be more of a regular font, I think. And this one's going to work absolutely fine. Yeah, that's great. Now then, what you could do here as well, if you're feeling creative, is you could put some advertisements down the right-hand side here. You could use text to image. And what kind of things do you think they'd be advertising in the Daily Tide? Maybe swimming lessons or half-price armbands? I'll just do that super quick now, but you can get creative and think of your advertisements. Okay, I've got some ads there. So let's get these ads to kind of match the style we've already got. So I'm going to choose this first image and let's go into the adjustments and let's bring the saturation all the way down so that it makes it black and white. And then let's pop out of the adjustments and let's use that same multiply blend mode that we used for that clock. And then the only thing I'm going to do then is go back into adjustments and maybe just bring up things like the shadows. I'll bring them down and just play around with contrast, maybe increase the contrast, bring the brightness down a little bit. There we go. Just so it makes it look like a lower quality newspaper print. That looks perfect. Let's do the same with this rusted nuts and bolts. So I'm going to just go into the adjustments, bring down the saturation, take all the color out. Let's bring the contrast up. And then remember to use your multiply blend mode so that it tones in with the paper in the background. And again, I'm just going to mess around with brightness, highlights. And you see, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm just experimenting to see what works best. There we go. Those are great. Now then, you could also be using your lines. So I'm just going to duplicate my line again. And you could be using your lines here to separate out the sections of your newspaper. So you could separate your adverts from the newspaper article with a line like this. And you could even separate your actual adverts from each other just like this. Right, I'm nearly done. This actual main article needs to be aligned to the left, not centered. And then we also need to tell everybody who wrote this. So let's duplicate our last text box here. 3 dots, duplicate, there it is. And then let's change this text to include my name. And let's pop that down at the bottom of my article. There we go, that looks great. I think it's going to look better if I pop that over to the left-hand side there. Yeah, brilliant. Now then, our final touch on this is we're going to make this whole thing look older. So under the elements on the left-hand side, go to Design Assets, scroll down and search for Overlays. Now in Overlays, scroll down again and you'll reach a section that says Vintage. Click on all of those. And we want to bring in something that's going to just make this page look older. Something like this, perhaps. Now then, make it cover your entire page, like that. And then bring the opacity down a little so that it isn't so strong. There we go. I'm just leaving it there on 40%. And there's my newspaper article, and I think that looks fantastic. Let's name our project by clicking up here in the top left and typing in a suitable project name. If you'd like to share this, you can click on Share and then choose View Only Link, and that'll produce a URL, a link that people can click on and come and see your wonderful newspaper article. Otherwise, you can download this either as a PNG if you'd like it as a digital image, or if you're planning on printing it out, then choose PDF, click download, and that'll be down on your device. Well, I hope you've had fun following along with this activity, and we'll see you again on another one soon. Bye for now.